Hello developers, welcome back to iCoded. In this video, we're going to talk about a big refactoring I have been recently conduct on a project, and I distilled the scenario into a shareable version of the refactoring. The problem of this screen or component or the scenario we're going to talk about is relatively complicated compared to the previous videos about refactoring. But the strategy is always can boil it down to a few fundamental principles, like the single responsibility principle or dependency injection. But the result is, I would say, it's relatively good, and I think after the refactoring, the overall component structure architecture of the application is much simplified and much easier to extend if you like. So as always, I will share some of the context about the background of the scenario, the application, what it's about, the components, and then we are going to talk about the problem it has, and eventually we'll gradually refactoring it into a better version. And then we will discuss the benefit of this refactoring overall. And yeah, that's pretty much about the structure. So let's get started. All right, the screen we are going to talk about today is like the one in the browser here. So as you can see, there is a few elements on the section here on the screen. And actually there is one more missing here. If you select one of the tiles, you can see there's one more component shows up. But yeah, this is basically a component or a screen that allows user to select a list of templates. So templates could be anything from a project templates when you're creating a new one, or a request type, or a form you want to create. So just imagine that's a list of items, and basically you want the user to be able to search if there are too many elements or too many tiles, and it's challenging to just select them. So we need a search functionality, and also most of the template has categories or groups. For example, we want to create a template only for HR, and we can preview them, and or even we want to see some analysis templates, and then we can select them and then continue the process. So it's not super complicated if you just say the happy path here. And if we go to here for search by the keyword, things like that, it will be a very straightforward. It's a relatively complicated UI, but not too much. And the real challenge comes when we want to make this component a shareable or a reusable component. So as I just said, this screen is for request type, and you probably will need a similar functionality for the project templates. Like for example, if you have a product that allows user to select or create projects, but you don't want them to build it from scratch, maybe that's some option. But for some users, they just need something to get started with. So that's why we have templates. So the requirement for such template selection, template selector will be pretty similar. Like for project select templates, there will be a similar screen or user experience. They can search, they can categorize, and they can select or preview and then select. And for a request type select template, it will be similar thing, or form. So for example, if you want a user to create a questionnaire or some kind of survey, it has a similar structure, but the different it will be that for each template it's different. It's it might has a different look and feel. Maybe the button is not select, it's like a pick, or I don't know, something else. So as we see many different places are using such template selector kind of component. It's natural to have a component, a big component that has everything. It has search, it has group or categorize, it has the template list, it has preview, and it allows user to select them. But yeah, that should give you some context of the functionality overall and why the template selector component exists at all. And if we look at the code, currently, as you can see, there is a component called template selector. We will give it a list of templates. So obviously, I just use a fake data here. Use template returns a list of templates, which is a very simple, data structure. It's an array basically, and it has ID. Each item has ID, has a name, and has a group. For example, the HR group has 3 items with ID 1, 2, 3. They have a few different, the template. So the use template hook will return this thing, but in real world, you can imagine that it will be fetched from the remote server. That's why, and normally there will be a loading status and and error handling there. But yet, for simplicity, we just put it here. When we call the use template hook, we can get that list. And then in the selector component itself, there are a few things here. There is search bar. You can type the keyword to search, and then there's a category list, which has all the categories, which are basically the group, like HR template. They have 3. Analysis has 4, things like that. And when we change the category, it will trigger a function, and we need to switch the actual tails to render. And there's a template list component. We just pass in the filtered template and show the actual template list. And also, when you have one selected, there will be a preview component. Shows the preview. There's an image here, but obviously there could be anything from a static image to an iframe to, it could be anything basically. This is the initial version of the template selector. So it only takes a list of templates basically, and the functionality is very straightforward. It's easy to understand as well. So at any given time, we will show a filtered templates on the middle area, and the category will be reflecting on the selection, and also there is a search. So each component itself is relatively simple as well. So if you go to the search bar, it's just a input, and it can handle the search, and it will call back the onSearch back in item selector. And then in the handle search, we will basically do a very simple search, but just checking the name includes the text the user inputted, and then we can set the filtered template as searched list. There will be a searched result, a matched result. And for selected category, that's all category and the others, and we can basically filter by group name. That's the existing behavior. And just imagine that this is the initial version, and it works fine until one day someone wants a similar functionality, but they need to twist the UI a little bit. For example, they want to customize the header of this screen, or they want to sort the category in a different algorithm. They don't want to do it alphabetically or random order. They need it to be in a particular order. They need to provide a sorting function basically, and I need to show them here. Or some of them need to customize the tile. For example, they don't want to show a select button here. Instead, there will be no button at all, or the tile here or template here need to render a subsnell or a preview, a image, and it can give you the better understanding of how the template will be rendered. But yeah, this basically the user of the template selector has their own reasonable requirement, and they want to do some customization based on the template selector. And over time, we will get something pretty much like this one, like coded for the code after a while, and we can see what it looks like. So the template selected props now has a lot of things in it. For example, we want to show a skeleton when the content is being loading, which is fair because the UI, as you can see, the skeleton, what do you call that? The skeleton to matching the layout here. So there will be a square here, and there will be a rectangle bar here, maybe something here as well, a few lines of the loading skeleton, which is, I guess, reasonable. And also, for some users, they can provide the error handling to us, and we can show something like, something went wrong. You need to go to this link to do something else, and then come back, or you just do a simple retry. And the actual user keep adding customized behavior to this shareable or reusable component, which like each change itself seems okay, it's harmless, it's reasonable. But over time, when you look back to compare this thing to the existing behavior or existing interface, you can see that there is a significant difference there, right? Initially, we only need the templates list, and over time, as more features are adding on, we end up with a lot of customizations adding to the component. So, for example, if the user want to customize the preview, they don't want a headline plus a image preview component. They want something more. For example, they want a button to be shown on the preview, so the user can, when they previewing, they can click a button to select it. Or they want to customize the header. The header itself, it may be not described enough. They wanted a paragraph on the underneath, and giving the user more details of the screen. Or they want to a callback when the category is selected. They want to do some analysis events, things like that. This could be very long after like a few iterations, which is bad. We don't want that, because as the maintainer of the template selector, we definitely want to keep it simple. We want it to be responsive to the changes that related to the selector itself, not to everything, right? So you can imagine that when the user want to customize the tile, the template tile here, what we call it tile. So for example, if the user want to customize the tile here, so you inevitably need to provide something like a custom tile and a React node. Probably that's not enough. You probably need a function that returns the React node, and that accepts a template, and then when it's being selected, you will call back to that custom tile. Just like this. And you can imagine that this list could go very long, and it's basically out of our control, which is a problem we want to avoid, and we don't want this because we, as a template selector, we want it to be a very generic component. It provides search, categorize, and render tails. Maybe we also need to show the preview, but yeah, nothing beyond that. So how can we do that? That's basically the refactoring we are going to talk about in this video. So I have tried a few different approaches to try to tackle this problem, and I found the one particular strategy is super useful is, I guess we can call it a single responsibility principle in a different variation. But yeah, essentially we want to break down the big chunk into smaller pieces, and then provide the separate the logic and the UI in a way, and then allow the user to customize the UI by themselves. I have done that refactoring in here called after, and I have extracted all the components here, like the search bar, category, template list, preview, everything else into a folder called common. And in the common, it has everything, like the category is the list here. So basically, if we go to the UI, this is the category, it has a title, and it has this list. And this thing itself is a component. It can be shared and exported to the outside world. Anyone want to do some customization, they just re-implement this functionality basically. For the preview, so basically when you select this, and there will be a selected item preview, and I extract this one into a separate component. You can use that straight away, but if you don't want to use that, you can also define a preview by yourself. And the search bar, obviously it's just input. We don't want anything fancy, but still I extract that as a component. The template list itself, this list, if you go to the the list itself is a separate component. And the tile, which is an individual item, which has a name and a button. By default, you can still use them, but the biggest refactoring here is, so in after the new version, I have created a component called template selector context. So in the context, so basically that's the status plus the behavior of the context of how we want the template selector to be used, or like what core features it provides. So for example, at any given time on the UI, we need to know the what category is selected, what the keyword user typed, right, and what is the current list looks like, and do we need to show the template preview or not. So at any given time, we need all the UI status to be in the context. And if you user want to click something, that's also in the context. Like at this time, if user click this select button, what will happen is defined in the context as well. So in the context here, let's say we have selected template, which one is selected. Templates to show is the filtered, or you have selected a category, we show a subset of the templates. And we have the on template selected, which will happen when you click one of the tile. And what is the category we are currently looking at, and what are all the categories, and what happens when you click a category. And we also have the should show preview flag, and the on search will be callback when you type something into the input bar. So if we look at the template selector provider now, this part is pretty what we had already in the initial version of the template selector. So basically that's the functionality, or like how do you filter, how do you handle the category change, how do you handle the search, how do you handle the the template selection. Every logic which was in let's go back to the before in the item selector. So all the behavior definitions are moved into the provider now, and you can think of the provider as a what do you call the orchestrator. It knows everything. It knows the current status of the UI and how to handle the events basically. And if we go back to the template selector, the new version, it will be much simpler. Obviously, we need the provider to be at the root level. It accepts the templates as the input, and it will do the calculation. Categorize them, group them into different categories, and bounding the event handlers. And for the customization now, for example, if we want to customize the search functionality, if we go to the My Search, we define a component called My Search. And in that, we can use the hook called use template selector, which will have the access to the template selector context. It has access to all these values in the context. But obviously, we don't need everything. We only need the onSearch, which will trigger the onSearch event. Like whenever the input value changed, it will trigger the onSearch in the context, and the context will figure out what will be shown on the template list. And if we go to the template selector again, and if we say we want to customize the category, we don't want the category to be the old behavior. We want to add in a few things on it, and we can require the category from the common package, which may be distributed as a npm package. And now we only import the category from the common. In the real world, it might be published as a separate package. Just import that package, and then we will insert or hook them together with the values we have in a hook. So it's pretty much like a what do you call that, a container component. We just simply pass in the categories which in a context, and the callbacks to the category. This is the one way to customize it, but it might be not the one you want. You probably need some more deep customization. That's also achievable by defining your own component. For example, we want to define the list. We don't want the list from the common. We need our own template list. So you see here, I have defined it's inside the after package. So this is your customization. And now you can define even the tail. You can define the tail in your package to do some deep customization. So for example, if I wanted the tail to be has a different background, or button is a different background. So in comparison, let's have a look at the this is the old layout plus the implementation. And now if I go to the application and switch this guy to the other one, it will template select from the after. Right, we don't want to use the before one, we use the after. And in the UI, you can see the layout is completely changed. The search bar is on the top section. The functionality is still same, and also we changed the tile button and the size is different as well. So the current structure gives us a lot of benefit. If we go to go back to the code here. So in the provider, we define all the behavior and the status into a single place, which is the provider. And also we provide a hook as well to allow the component to access the data defined here. And then it's kind of open a whole new dimension that user can define whatever they like, the layout. For example, they don't want the search to be on the top of the section. They can move that to the very bottom. Yeah, you can still do that, like request, search, or whatever. It just works. It doesn't matter where you put it. Also, it doesn't matter like where you want you want the UI to be looks like. The category, for example, now it's a list kind of thing. You can put that in a drop down or a selector component, and you can, because we have exposed the behavior instead of the UI, so you can use this kind of technique to reform the UI completely. It gives you all the flexibility and customization. Also, the maintenance for us as the author of the provider is also simple. We only have a few things need to be considered, which are purely about the data manipulation. It doesn't have any UI at this stage. So whoever wants to use this data or consume this data or handling the events, they can use the hook plus this provider. So on the top level, they want this provider to be there, and then passing the templates they want us to manage for them, and then we will provide this. We'll have this hook there for them to access the the real-time status of the contacts, so they can compose the list, template list or preview pretty much freely. They can do whatever they like with that. So it's not only the layout, but the functionality composition as well. For example, if they want to, maybe when you select this, instead of showing this preview, you can use a pop-up, or when you hover on it, it will load the preview view into a different panel, which is pop-up. And yeah, that's pretty much about the strategy. So to summarize, what we have done is we extract all the behavior and the status management into a central place, which is the context. It has everything in it that is not related to the UI. It has all the logic. And on the other side, we break down all the UI into smaller pieces and put them into a common library or something like that. They are purely stateless. You can use them whatever you like. You can think of them as the building blocks in a design system, like a button or a card. So they don't have any status. And yeah, that's pretty much what I have for today. If you recognize the pattern or kind of looks like familiar to you, that's because I have written a similar topic about headless components last year on multifolio.com. If you haven't yet, I would suggest you to have a read to get more basic understanding of where the pattern originally comes from and how can you use that in which scenario and gain the most from it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next time. Bye bye.